All right, folks, welcome to another PyMCon Meet the Organizers interview. This is an international operation because for me in Los Angeles, it's about 6 o'clock. Maybe you could tell, but for Rob, he's in Berlin and it is a nice afternoon that it looks like. But with that, I just wanted to introduce Rob Zinkov. Rob is somebody that I should have met years earlier. It turns out he had lived in Los Angeles for a portion of time, but I didn't meet him till a little bit later in my Bayesian journey. But I don't want to steal all your thunder, Rob. Could you tell me more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I now live in Berlin. I work at QuantSight. It's basically a scientific Python consultancy. So employs lots of the major contributors to things like NumPy, SciPy, Pandas, PyTorch, Matplotlib, Jupyter, and helps different companies with that. I've been doing stuff around Bayesian inference and parallel programming, I want to say probably for like close to 10 years. Like I've written some of these probabilistic programming languages. I've played with like a lot of the libraries. It's a space that I'm really excited about and I think really has the potential to help a lot of people.
So, Rob, for somebody that's been in Bayesian programming or the Bayesian scene in general for the great part of 10 years, and, a whole distribution of things you could do, just as you mentioned, what interests you about PyMCon specifically?
I'm really excited about PyMCon. I just see it as an opportunity for people to learn more ways to use Bayesian inference and the software. I often feel like people are like, oh yeah, what is this useful for? And it's hard for people to sometimes wrap their head around it. And I'm really excited for people to sort of share their experiences through the different talks in the series. And for people to really see just how vibrant and diverse the space is.
So the next question is, you're going to have to reach back, way back for this one, knowing you. How did you get started with Bayesian statistics in general? And then the second part of that is, how did you get started with PyMC as an ecosystem in that journey?
So the first question, I'm not fully sure. I think I was just one of these readers of Andrew Gelman's blog, and like through that sort of learned about Bayesian inference. And there's just something about it that's like appealing, because I feel like when I, like many other people, sort of learned the statistics, particularly like frequency statistics, it all just feels like this sort of hodgepodge of rules, and it's hard to sort of understand how it all fits together. I think there's sort of a very seductive on-ramp with Bayesian inference where it all sort of has a nice compositionality to it, how everything sort of hangs together. Of course, the methods themselves are very computationally expensive, but that's something I think you only learn later. It was one of those first times where I felt like, oh, I think I could actually understand statistics versus just sort of pull at different tools and hope I'm not making a subtle error or, violating assumption about different mechanisms. For PyMC, I think my first exposure was like PyMC 2, where I sort of kind of played around with it. My context was eventually I was trying to use Bayesian inference for some social network analysis, and I was trying to write like a stochastic block model in bugs, and it just wasn't working. So I think at some point I went and explored PyMC. I don't recall if I got something working, but I think that was my first encounter with it. I was like, oh, this is actually kind of a nice library. And I think my first contribution to it was, I think, just fixing a spelling error in the documentation.
Well, even for somebody that has a lot of experience, for me, that was the same thing as well. Fixing errors in documentation are a great way to get started. So I'm glad you gave that tip to the PyMC community here who's watching this. Is there anything else you'd like to leave with the PyMC community before we wrap up?
I want to encourage people that PyMC is a library that I think really strives to sort of help bring people in that of all experience levels, of all backgrounds. So their project is just full of people who their first interaction with the library was not as some expert in Bayesian statistics or probabilistic programming. One of the things I really like about the project and the community around it is I think there's a strong culture of helping people really learn the system and helping them grow within the community. So I really feel like if you find anything in the ecosystem interesting, you should just get involved.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Rob, because if you're watching this video right now, the call for proposals for PyMCon is still open. Rob here actually is on the contributor experience team and is helping get your proposals through. Even if you're watching this farther in the future, the PyMC web series is running. So be sure to check out the discourse and the website, which you can see up here on the right, pymccon.com, to see everything that is happening and get involved. With that, Rob, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story and share how you got started in Bayesian Stats for all the folks here.
Thanks for giving me this opportunity, Ravin.